Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Very excited to be with you. I got an interesting topic for you today, something I'm very familiar with for the fact that I wrote two books, one on each country, Russia and Iran. So I have a lot of background information regarding this, but I'm also going to provide you my own analysis about what's going on with this topic. I've been reading up on it, given some developments, but last night I made the decision to go ahead and share this with you. But before I do this, let me take a look, see who's here. And thank you all for being here, by the way. I'm very grateful to you all. So, Rama, good to see you here. Maddie, good to see you. Farhad Razavi, good to see you as always, sir. Rezamar, good to see you. That you wrote something funny. Willie Holman, good to see you as always. And I'm seeing, good to see you as always. Chanel, Boycott, John Smithens, good to see you as always. All right, let me get into this because I need to cover something here. Then I'm going to go to the other platform because I have some major explanations to provide you that I can't talk about here. So here is the link for the next location, and I will see you there after. Let me show it here for you, and I'm gonna post it in the chat box for you guys, so you'll have it there, and I will see you right after we finish some conversation here, and we'll do it over on the other location. Here is the link in the chat box, guys, and please just share it with others if you will be kind. SK Wong, good to see you as always. All right, let's talk. I don't have, by the way, I don't have headlines today because I didn't have enough time. So I don't like to just, if I don't do it right, I won't do it at all. That's important for me. I just want to make one announcement for you guys before I forget. Remember to join me on Friday, tomorrow at 1900 hours, my time here in Central Standard Time, for my conversation with Dr. Welmer Leon. Trust me on this. It's something you don't want to miss. You know, I know the man. I know what he's made of. I know his academic background. It's something you do not want to miss. So I'm going to share the link with you. Of course, I already posted for you all, but for those who may not know, here is the link for that conversation on Friday at 1900 hours. So, all right, let's get into our topic here. Well, today's topic, just a background. The United States is now warning Iran not to send the short-range missiles to Russia. Well, I found it hilarious. Hilarious and funny, but pathetic also. It's because the world is no longer the sole property of the sole superpower. That era is gone. So in other words, who gave us the right to dictate to the other countries what to do and not to do? So that era is gone. So some of us in Washington, when I say us, I'm referring to the damn politicians in Washington, still living under that mindset of we're still dictating the word, we're still dictating the term. That era is gone. So, and this is why I found it very important to address this topic, because I'm going to provide you my insights. And again, based on what I wrote on both countries, on Russia and Iran, and I spent quite a few years doing the research for this. So it's something I'm very, very familiar with. So, but before we move forward, we need to ask the key questions. And the key questions to this will be, and I already prepared them here for you. So why is Iran supplying these missiles? It's because here's the thing, like I always say, in geopolitics, there is nothing for free. There is no free lunch, as we said. There's always something. So why is Iran supplying those missiles? The second question is, what is Iran getting in return? And there is something in return. That's why I decided to do the other part of the conversation on the other platform, because I can't disclose it here, which is, you all know how it is. Let's not beat the dead horse here. And the third question is, what is the message? Because what both countries share, what does Iran, or what do Iran and Russia share? Can you guys type in the chat box? What they both share? There is something well known. See if you guys can type in. I just want to sort of pick your brain on this one here. What does two countries have something together? Oil, that is correct. Taiwan Steel, good to see you, by the way. There is something else. You're absolutely correct. Gas, that's correct. Hamad City, good to see you. The hatred for America, that is correct, Chanel, but there is a keyword I'm looking for. Common enemy, that's correct. Natural gas, that's correct. All this, sanctions. Sanctions, they are both sanctioned by the United States. But all what you guys shared, Francis Tango, good to see you, by the way. You are absolutely correct. You guys are right. But there is that common element is the sanctions. And this is where I'm saying, as a geopolitical analyst, what is the message? Because there is a message there. And this is what I'm going to go into detail to talk with you today in this live stream here. So, well, here's the thing. When you look at the whole West Asia, with all the turmoil that's going on, and there is a lot of it, and it will always be, because the West Asia has always been the center of gravity, where major powers compete, either conquering the part, taking advantage of its resources, and yet it's the locals that they are paying the price. I mean, you and I know. Look at how people in West Asia, Middle East, that is, look at the livelihood of the people there, rich in natural resources, but living in poverty. How so, you may ask yourself? This goes back to also the same thing in like in Asia and certain parts of the world. I give the example of Indonesia, since I talked about it yesterday. The idea of what we did in the 70s there is to access the resources, right? Same thing for Latin America. So you get the idea. So the turmoil that exists in West Asia, and of course, what made even this worse is when the US decided to pull out of the Iran nuclear agreement, because we did it unilaterally. This is something I didn't understand what the former president, President Trump, this is what I'm saying. I have nothing against the man, but when it comes down to foreign policy, he ain't qualified for it. You can't just be too loud and think that the rest of the world's going to respect your insights if you don't have the background for it. So we withdrew from the Iran nuclear agreement. Then you got also the Venezuela domestic unrest. Then you look at what took place in Libya back then. And the major one is the death of the INF treaty. This one has to do with the nuclear missiles placements and so forth. INF, if you can look it up. I just didn't get a chance to go into more details into this. So all this, you think about it within the context of American foreign policy. And this is where this comes into question. Why all of a sudden the US is warning Iran? Why will Iran even care? Why will Russia care? Why will China care? Why will whomever? Why? It's because the changes on the global stage have already been taking place. Like I said, gone the era where the world used to be the sole property of a sole unipolar. That was the thing is, we didn't understand and we didn't think far enough to maintain that, because when you are in that position of power, it becomes a responsibility. You don't just dictate the terms as you wish, which is exactly what we're doing today. So, but anyway, this is part of the background of what I'm getting into, conversation regarding Iran and Russia. Of course, it goes without saying that both countries, Russia and Iran, have been increasing their military cooperation. So, and I'll detail a few other things as I move forward. But before I'll do this, we're going to do a little bit of geography, not about Iran, it's about Russia, and a little bit of history, because Russian history goes way, way back. You'll be surprised how many in the West have no idea about the history of Russia, of Soviet Union, whatever that was the term. All right, let's get into the geography. And like I always give credit to the World Atlas, because that's where I get the maps from. And I like to give them credit for that. Share screen with you. Russia, here we go. Big, big, big landmass country. Of course. I'm going to make this bigger a little bit. All right, when we think about Russia, a large landmass, that is. So Russia, the world's largest country by area, it stretches from northern Asia okay, to Eastern Europe. The Arctic Ocean borders Russia to the north and the Pacific to the east. The country also has a short coastline on the Baltic Sea in the northwest. FYI, guys, now you know why Russia did what it did in Ukraine. It's because if that Baltic, why? Let me ask you a question before we move forward. Why is this important to Russia? Why the Baltic Sea is important to Russia? Can anybody type in the chat box? Just whatever comes to the top of your head for now. Just part of the conversation here. The importance of the Baltic Sea. And I know there's a little bit of delay here. Taiwan still trade. That is true. And I'm seeing the only warm water port. That is correct. Ice-free port. That is, you guys got it. Mainly has to do with the access to water for either import or export of material. For Russia, of course, has a lot of energy, and this is the reason why it's important to it. So now the exclave of Russia. You think about Kaliningrad. It also borders the Baltic Sea, as well as Lithuania and Poland, of course. The southern border of Russia are with Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, China, North Korea, and Mongolia. The western and southwestern borders of Russia are with which country, guys? Anybody who knows a little bit of geography here? There are about 4 or 5 countries. I want you just to guess. Let me see. Kaliningrad, that's one. Okay, we're talking about the western and southwestern border. Just picture Russia and picture the southwestern, okay, and the western part. I just want to see. You got Poland to a degree, China, Korea. Yeah, that is correct. Army with harmony, but China and North Korea, those are to the southern border. I'm talking about western border. So, Moldova to a degree, Azerbaijan, Georgia, that is to a degree. Yeah, you're looking at Finland, Norway, Estonia, Belarus, Ukraine, and Latvia. So now you understand why Russia had to do what it did regarding Ukraine. Very, very important. Let me share one other picture with you regarding the, right here. You look at the, this is what I'm referring to. I'm pointing at it with my cursor on the left side of where it says European Russia, Europe. That's what I'm referring to. All those countries around that part. Of course, I didn't talk much about the Black Sea. That's another region that is another body of water that is so crucial to Russia, and we never allow it to be, or any foreign forces be there. And this is the reason why it's important to understand the geography of Russia. Now, a little bit of history. Now, this one I wrote extensively about. I think I devoted an entire chapter regarding the history. If you ever get a chance to look at my book, whatever, you can see that I devoted a chapter, about 36 pages or 30 pages, somewhere around that, just to deal with the history. Because here is one thing that I need you to understand. Very, very crucial, guys, to understand. There are 2 accounts. And again, I did the research. There are 2 accounts regarding where do we start with the history of Russia. There are those who are saying you start at about 906. My research led me to 802. That's a big gap, because that's very important to understand. And because that part of the world, that part of the history, I'm sorry, not 862, 862. That's how far back it goes. So this is why it's very, very important. Let me share another a picture with you guys, because it makes more sense when you see images. while I'm addressing part of the history here. You all know what this is, Red Square, right? Yeah. So you think about knowing the history of Russian Empire, not just Russia, yeah, especially the history of its beginning. It's very important. Why? Because it will help us to understand modern day Russia better. It's no different than Iran, for example. Understanding its old history will help us understand today's Iran. The same thing applies to China. The same thing applies to whatever other country with history. For us, of course, 240 plus years ain't enough. Yeah, there is that little history. Britain, where with all its history, of course, it will help us to understand where UK is, because it took advantage of other countries by taking over their resources and stealing their resources. So anyway, this is where the history comes in. Now, detailing the early history of Russia, of course, will be too long. And this is exactly what I disclosed in my book. That's what I wrote. I'm sharing with you what I wrote in my own research, in my own book. But I began the history of Russia with starting with the East Slavs, the Slavic. Because if you think about the Slavic language, where are they all concentrated? Can anybody tell me? The Slavic language, where are they all concentrated? Just think, especially for my viewers from Europe. You should know this one. Where do you think that is? Russian Vikings to a degree. Yeah. Eastern Europe, you got it, John. John Smithens, you got it. That is correct. It's because, or the Slavic language, the Slavs goes into more of Eastern Europe. Then you get the Turkic. Then you get the Finno-Ugric people. Those are the primary history, or the earlier elements of the history of Russia. Interestingly, many historians agree that the Russian Empire started with the Viking rulers who established the northern state of Rus, R-U-S, back in 1862. The two major cities that I want you to keep in mind, one of them is called Staraya Ladoga and Novgorod. The latter, meaning the city of Novgorod, is a Russian for new town. That's the name in Russian. It's called the new town in English. Translation that is. Novgorod played a pivotal role in establishing the state of Rus. And during the 8th and the 9th centuries, Staraya Ladoga played a crucial role as a prosperous trading outpost. The city became a multi-ethnic settlement dominated mainly by Scandinavians. Interestingly, the inhabitants of the Staraya Ladoga were called also by the name of Rus. That was also known that way. Novgorod, on the other hand, the other city, is considered one of the oldest, most important historic cities in Russia, with its most than 1,000 years of history. So around 882, Prince Oleg of Novgorod seized power in Kiev, modern day Ukraine, the capital of Ukraine, laying the foundation for the powerful state of Kievan Rus. This is why a lot of people in the West do not understand that the population in Ukraine is Russian. They are the same. They're all the same. We created that distinction by design. Laying the foundation for the powerful state of the Kievan Rus. The prince's ambition did not stop there. Why? Because he launched an attack on the city of Constantinople. Which one is Constantinople in today's era? Can anybody tell me? Constantinople, what is it known as of today? Which city in Europe? Or which city in a major country? Can anybody tell me? Constantinople. No, Ankara. You got the country right, but it's not Ankara. It's Istanbul, Hamad City. You got it. Is Istanbul. That's what it is. And that's great, guys, because that's how we learn. All of us learn in here. And by the way, I want you to know, even though I did the research, whatever, I'm still learning through this. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's a learning process for me as well. So the Constantinople, which was the capital of the Byzantine Empire at that time, Oleg, Prince Oleg, that is, was able to unite the northern and southern lands of Eastern Slavs under one authority. This unity allowed him to rule the state and adopt which religion, guys? Because that is known in Russian history. Which religion was adopted as the official state religion? Can anybody type in that? And I know it takes a while here. There is a little bit delay in this one here. Let me see if there is another picture I can share with you. Oh, this is the Romanovs. Yeah. Let me see what's Orthodox. Before that, that is why it's very, very important to understand this. And this is why in the West, if you go back to Tucker's interview with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, and the Russian president talked for 35 minutes about the history. It was for a reason. For a reason, guys. It's because we do not know the depth of the history, how far back it goes. And like I always say, the historical past tends to give you an idea how a country manages its international relations, because it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And this is why I push back against those who are saying, and I'll give the example of both at this time, Russia and China, but mainly China, that China is going to take over the world. Well, hold on a second. You're going to have to look at the history of China. Did China went ahead and invade other countries? Did China went ahead and conquer other countries throughout its history? And the record says or showed that it never did. So what makes us think that all of a sudden China will embark on just conquering countries because now it is a major power on the global stage? And once again, it's because of the history. Is the history. And this is something we in the West, collective West, I don't pinpoint to one country or another, pinpoint collective West, we are poor readers of history. So, all right, let's get into our conversation here before I'll move to the next platform to converse more about this one. So I'm going to share some pictures with you guys just for you to see what are we talking about here. This picture, by the way, I got to give credit to Reuters for this picture, even though the article was not from the United States. But nonetheless, that's where the credit showed. That's what I give credit to. So now the conversation is, of course, Iran is supplying Russia. But the question is, why are we crying over that? Why are we talking about it? Why are we warning Iran for? When we are doing the same. So what makes it right for us but wrong for them? Which is logical question, because that's to me a reality of it. So there are the reports that's and again I have to confirm this number because to me it was surprising but not surprising. About 400 missiles that including both short-range ballistic missiles. It's called the Fatih 110 family, and also includes the mobile missiles that is capable of hitting targets at a distance between 300 to 700 kilometers. And again, the logical question we ought to ask is, okay, why are we screaming about all this now? What the West, collective West, have been doing for the last 2 years? Providing weapons for Ukraine. So what makes this different than that? They can make their arrangements. Of course, for them, meaning Russia and Iran, there is more than what meet the eyes. So, because you have to understand the development of the relationship. I go as far back as 2011 during the behind the closed negotiations regarding the Iran nuclear deal. And it was Russia and China behind closed doors that convinced Iran to agree. Of course, for us, the West, we always say, well, we reached an agreement. Hold on a second. You didn't reach an agreement unilaterally. It was the P5+1, meaning the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany, because Germany was representing Europe in that case, which I found it very useless anyway. We're saying we reached it. Well, no, you didn't. We didn't. So, but the truth is, behind the scenes, it was Russia and China that convinced Iran to move forward with the agreement. That's what happened back then. Because both Iran and Russia understood that once the deal is reached, they will benefit from it. They, Russia and China, will benefit. And there is nothing wrong with that. This is what happened in geopolitics. You have to think about your strategic long term. And what is the long term here? The long term is that both countries, Russia and China, are the one now managing the global order, and they see in the role of Iran in West Asia. That is the reason to it. Second thing, you're going to have to think as a geopolitical analyst, the location of Iran. Access to what? Eurasia. Eurasia gives you what? Access to? What does it give you the access to, guys? Eurasia. Just think big picture. Think global economy. Think energy. Why Eurasia is a key? If you can type in the chat box, I want to see your because I like, that's how I learn about you guys, because you're thinking. Oil, that is correct. Boycott. Energy, army with harmony. Energy, that is correct. It's because the pipelines, which means what? That means the country like China will avoid any choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, like the Suez Canal, like Bab el-Mandeb, or any other, like even Malacca Strait. Yeah. Hamad City, cheap energy, because the cheap, it will be cheap to go on a land than to go on a sea. So you guys got it. SK Wong, you got it. Oil, you're absolutely correct, guys. So you got the picture as to why Russia and China were thinking far ahead. And this is nothing new, guys. You know why? Those countries, they tend to think long terms. We in the United States think in the next quarter, because elections. That's why we never look very far. That's why we are where we are. And I'm not putting down my country. I am criticizing my country for, I look at the infrastructure, how crumbling. I drive in a city and I drive in towns and I fly inside the country and I see, I'm not blind. And to those who say, well, you can just talk about infrastructure, whatever, because it's a reflection of where society is. Why our tax dollars are being wasted on countries that have nothing to do with our interest. It is my right, it is my duty, and it is my responsibility to criticize the government for it. And I ain't going to hold back on that. And this is why you're seeing the difference. Russia and China saw this long term. They didn't think about it the next year, next 2 years. They saw it the next 10, 20, 25 years. And here we are. Now you're seeing these changes going on. And that is why Iran said, no, we're going to move forward with our shipments for Russia with those missiles. But Iran is getting something in return, of course. Well, you think about it. Let me share a picture with you also, another one. This one, I got to give credit to, let me see, who is Associated Press, AP. I got to give credit. Once again, this wasn't published in the United States. I have to translate this stuff for you guys. This is what I spend my time when I do this one here is a little easier for me because I wrote books about each one of them. I don't know where the other one here. I don't have it here. So I have a lot of background information on it. So what you're looking at, those are drones, right? That's called Shahed drones. And guess what Ukraine is asking Iran to do? to stop supplying Russia with it. How ludicrous and pathetic. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's not a laughing matter. It shows you how lack, how much Western collective West is lacking the fundamentals of understanding that in international relations ain't about just dictating the term. It is about cooperating with countries. What makes them think that they're going to be barking at Iran and Iran's going to say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we're going to stop? But also it shows how pathetic we have become when it comes down to understanding geopolitical landscape, understanding how to read that landscape, and understanding how to formulate strategies that reflect in the current geopolitical realities on the ground. That is, to me, what it reflects. So when the U.S. is barking or Iran, warning Iran, whatever, what are you going to do? You're going to attack Iran, which will be a suicide. We know that we can attack Iran. We know this. And mark my word, we are not. Because we know what the outcome is going to be. So this is one of the arguments that I've been thinking about in terms of understanding why Iran will do this. Well, because there is something coming back in return. And this is what I'm going to have to disclose to you in the other location. And this one has to do with two pictures. I'm going to share them with you without a comment. You're smart enough by now to know what I am going to be talking about. Look at this picture here, which, by the way, just happened a few days ago. And here is the other picture, which, by the way, I confirmed both. So, and I'll detail later on about this one on the other location. So just to put this in perspective for you, for example, Russia already decided to they already provided Iran with the S-300 missile system. And there is a conversation, by the way, that they're going to be delivering the S-400 missile system. As a matter of fact, I checked in one specific location where I follow up on this, the armaments. There are some entities that I am subscribing to, and I read through their stuff. There's a conversation regarding the Russia providing the air power to Iran now, and we have communicated with Russia not to do so. What an arrogance. What makes us think that the Russians are going to say, sure, we are not going to do it? Of course, it's give and take. On the other hand, don't be surprised if the Russians will say, yeah, we can think about it if we get something in return. See what I mean? Because that's just part of how it is. However, Russia is not going to do that. Why? Because that train has already left the station as far as the changes within the geopolitical landscape in West Asia. No longer the way it used to be. This is what you're seeing. This is an example of that. And I will disclose to you later as to why. Okay, but I want you to understand that big picture, because without it, it won't make sense to you. Oh, the US is warning, which is nothing but a warning for what? Because that's a false posturing. This is nothing but a posturing. We're still the mighty mighty. No. They're shrugging their shoulders and says, so what? Because that's the truth. That's the reality of it. But there is much bigger picture to all this. And Russia is doing what it's doing for a reason. Because remember, it was only last week. I know I didn't talk about it at all. Last week, there were few delegations won over to Russia from Palestine. One delegation was not included, the PA, Palestinian Authority. Why? Because the Palestinian Authority is the one that is bowing to the West. The other groups are not. And guess what? They were invited to Russia. Well, you are smart enough to put the two and two together and figured, why did Russia invite them over to Moscow? This is what I want you to keep in mind. as we discuss this one on the next platform. So that is the important aspects of it. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Of course, this didn't happen overnight. Iran, of course, is going to challenge that argument, but at the same time, a U.S. warning nowadays, it's just nothing but what they're going to do. What we going to do? Nothing. Look at just the UK right now. The UK just misfired the missile yesterday that almost killed their Secretary of Defense. UK is useless. I'm sure you guys did see that they boycott the vote at the UN Security Council. How can you boycott or abstain? I'm sorry, not boycott. Abstain from a vote. You either vote or not, which is pathetic position to be in. So the only country, of course. And this is why you need to understand all these dynamics taking place, especially with now both countries, Iran and Russia. They share one commonality, that they are both sanctioned by the United States. But it's over anyway, sanction or not. Officially now, I believe I just read something last night that officially, and listen carefully, guys, officially now, China and Russia no longer transact in US dollar. Officially. That is a big deal. Big deal. It's because the volume of the transactions between the two countries, and especially when it comes down to gas, because China, we need a lot of gas, and they're already getting it from other places as well. So this is what I wanted to share with you here. I'm gonna stop right here, guys, and jump on the other location, because there are a few other things I want to talk to you about. All ties to all this. It just I don't want to disclose it here. So, okay, please, before you leave, make sure to hit the like button and share this video with others once it's done here. I will greatly appreciate it. If you are here for the first time, I will greatly appreciate it if you can subscribe. And I will give my thanks to those who bought me coffee and those who bought me tea. And I will announce to you later on as to when I'm going to do the once a month. I'll be doing what I called Buy Me Coffee with Dr. O, or Buy Me Coffee with Doc. So this is where we just chat, okay? And I'll fill you in about all this when we go to the other location. Let me once again post it for you in the chat box for those who might be just coming to join us here. I will be expanding on this, but also highlighting some other very key information on some related topics here. Oh, Barbara, where is Barbara? I saw she wrote something. Barbara, love from Amsterdam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barbara. Truly appreciate it. AG, many thanks, Dr. O. Always a pleasure. Yes, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you. And because of you guys, I mean it. You know me by now. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't need to, because I'm beyond that. I'm not a, I'm old enough now that I'm beyond that. I say it straightforward. I mean it when I say it's because of you guys. I'm here also. So thank you all so much. Nate, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the other location. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. I threw a blank on it. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.